figured prominently in the scriptures.
Yep.
And that was cold about the Greek Empire. That's when the Edomites, the lowest of the low, began to rule over us, rule the world. And that's what it say. And evils were multiplied in the earth at that time because the most vilest man was ruling.
And that's when we really began to really lose
The worst
our
thing that
heritage.
happened to us began right there.
Yeah.
Hey, that was when they started to forcefully. That's right. Discontinue us. This is when they were saying that you better not even confess that you were Israelite.
Hey, we were bad enough without a worship on our own. Then they made us, those that were obedient, they made them stop being obedient. Cold, man.
This another one in Maccabees. I'm gonna get.
It's also in Second Maccabees, the 6th chapter. They was basically saying that
One in like 50.
Yep.
6 and 6.
First Maccabees 1.
The one you talking about,
I'll
second,
start
6
here
and 6.
at 44. Slot 41.
You got
It says, moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people, and everyone should leave his laws. So all the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king.
You start off talking about letting it in the sun. Happening again. New world order is happening back then. Everybody stop doing what you believe. We're gonna have one money, one religion, one healthcare system. Same shit.
we're gonna have one mind.
One gender.
And us all speak the same thing, which is basically if it ain't coming from us, then
I just want to tie that in.
Same thing. I hope he comes back though, because at least when we're able to engage, we're able to go into actual topics.
Right.
And I like to spar with Christians. You know, it gives good engagement. You know, because it shows that you gotta really be grounded. You gotta really know the scriptures if you're gonna come out here and stand upon the faith. Scriptures say we gotta let our speech be seasoned with salt, with grace, that we ought to answer every man.
I just don't like when they come in and they start making these fantastical claims as fact. Oh man, you ain't proved nothing.
We gotta go into the scriptures and make it.
And one thing this shows you is who has the spirit and who don't. Who can see spiritually and who sees carnally.
Is that kind? To land back on what you're saying as well.
It made it seem like we was carnal.
Right.
Because to land back as well, is we know the scriptures you're bringing up. You don't know the scriptures that we're pulling. Yeah, you don't understand the scriptures that we're pulling, man. We understand everything you spoke about. We know it. We study it.
That's why certain points that he was making, he thought that we were gonna disagree with him on, but we was actually agreeing with him. Like, dude, we know the scriptures.
And then we would add another part that he missed into it. And he'd be like, yeah, exactly. Yeah, we know. Fool. Like,
preaching to the choir, man.
Continuing, it says, yea, many also of the Israelites consented to his religion and sacrificed unto idols and profaned the Sabbath. For the king has sent letters by messenger unto Jerusalem and the cities of Judah that they should follow the strange laws of the land and forbid burnt offerings and sacrifice and drink offerings in the temple, and that they should profane the Sabbaths and festival days and pollute the sanctuary and holy people, set up altars and groves and chapels of idols and sacrifice swine's flesh and unclean beasts, that they should also leave their children uncircumcised and make their souls abominable with all manner of uncleanness and profanation, to the end that they might forget the law and change all the ordinances. And whosoever would not according to the commandment of the king, he said he should die.
Say that again, I did not follow you.
And whosoever would not do according to the commandment of the king, he said he should die.
So that's important history to know. That it was that severe that when these Greeks rose to power, if we were still trying to keep the covenant, we were threatened with death. So that means, hey, No more circumcisions. No more keeping the Sabbath. No more Sabbath services.
You better not find you with a
You
Bible.
better not find an open book of the law nowhere. That's how they made it on us, man. So just think about that. With certain jakes that got fearful, they wasn't willing to lose their life for the Lord's sake. Dudes giving in, saying, all right, if we can't beat them, let's join them then.
The majority of our people were carnal, not spiritual. When you go into that same book, you saw who was spiritual was the Maccabees.
Yeah.
Commended for being spiritual in that time. Versus, the rest of the nation that consented.
They was also commended for their valiantness. They were courageous. They were brave, man. They had the same conviction and confidence that Paul had. I mean, that was like King David had. They was willing to fight it out. And that's what preserved, that line of Israelites who by the time the Lord came on the scene when the Romans was in power, you still had those Pharisees who goes back to the Hasmonean dynasty. The Hasmonean dynasty, a lot of them, it was a lot of priests. Okay? So, yeah, man. So if it wasn't for them, it would have been a lot. All of Israel would have been uncircumcised by that point. But you had that line of men who were preserved. And they kept the tradition, they kept the laws.
I'm pretty sure as spiritual as those that kept that line going, as spiritual as they were, once it passed on, it became not a sentence unto death to keep the law. That's when other men of lesser quality stepped into those positions and were corrupted. And then you go to Pharisees, the wicked scribes and Pharisees.
Selling out.
Right, yeah. They want the position of power versus the actual job of keeping the law.
Plus, there was also a marrying in with the Edomites.
That's it. Position of power.
That was it on that. Go to the one in 2nd Maccabees 6.
Yeah, 6th verse. 2nd Maccabees 6 and 6.
You can start at the top and read down.
2nd Maccabees chapter 6 at the top. It says, not long after this, the king sent an old man of Athens to compel the Jews to depart from the laws of the fathers and not to live after the laws of the Most High Yahweh.
So they had to forsake the covenant. This is how they became strangers of the covenant. They couldn't keep the high holy days anymore. They couldn't do none of that. So imagine, generations of you living under a whole new culture and new tradition when you had an original one. But your forefathers, they were beaten from keeping it. So just imagine they coming up and all they know is this Greek shit.
Right.
The first language that's taught to them is Greek. From the womb. This is what was happening to our people. This is why by that time, they was considered a no people.
Keeping pagan holidays and shit.
Yeah.
Instead of the high holy days, they just grew up in that life.
Hey,
They grew up and just, because they couldn't circumcise their son, so it just got to a point where they weren't getting circumcised.
It became the norm.
There was a lot of Israelites and they wasn't getting circumcised. Hey, we went, even on this side,
Yeah. Everything.
not every brother came into this thing circumcised. Brothers once they came into the faith and they grew in the faith, they took that further step and they got circumcised. But our parents they didn't know because they were living as Americans.
Yep.
It goes back to Rome. Andrews.
Yep. Go ahead.
Continuing. And to pollute also the temple in Jerusalem, and to call it the temple of Jupiter Olympus,
Yep.
and that in garrison of Jupiter to the defender of strangers. as they did desire that dwelt in the place. The coming in of this mischief was sore and grievous to the people.
Now I believe Jupiter is Roman. The Greek version of it is Zeus. So they were basically trying to make them worship Zeus. All right, in the temple, which is a Greek god.
It's funny because that's what E.A. Zeus came. By the time it got to the Romans, they were continuing it over.
And isn't that one of the names
Here
they
we
called
go.
Apostle Paul and Peter? One was Mercury and the other was
For the temple was filled with
I was
riot
telling you, the police is
and
coming back
revelry
behind you. Just
by the
heads up.
Gentiles, who dallied with harlots and had to do with women.
So we don't have jurisdiction on that other side, where you guys are going to run that over there. Just now, on this side. This whole block.
That side is good.
I actually like that background.
We're facing.
Oh, okay, but yeah, I get it. I apologize. But yeah, any side in here on that side, we don't have any of those buildings. You guys are good rock and roll.
Okay.
All right, be safe, y'all.
All right.
Have a good day.
All right.
So let's wrap up. We'll come back with it.
If you just exit or go out of it, it may let me resume live.
Shit.
Hello.